Hey there, audio friends. Got a great review for you today. So I've got the Heddphone 2 GT. I still do have in my possession the original Heddphone 2 as well. And so Head sent this out to me. They wanted me to do a comparison. This is their updated model, the GT, where they've tweaked a couple of things. Let's see if they made some improvements. So before we talk about the headphones specifically, let's talk about accessories. Largely, the packaging and the headphones are very, very similar to the original Heddphone 2, which is probably a good thing in most regards. Like I'm going to link to my original review of the Heddphone 2. I think you should probably go take a look at that one before you watch this one, honestly, and because I'm not going to go over in detail the same stuff because a lot of it is very similar, but I'll give you some quick overviews here. So the unboxing experience is really, really good, just like it was with the original. You do get a really nice case, kind of a semi-rigid case here with some molding in it, you know, spot for a cable. It's a nice piece of kit. I don't really take headphones like this anywhere. I don't have a place to take them. I'm a teacher. I'm not going to take $2,000 headphones to school. So they pretty much stay at my desk here, but it's a nice touch if you are that type of person. The other thing that they send, which is really nice, is the cabling. I found this cable, it feels a little bit better than the original one in my mind. They still have the same great setup where you know, you've got several different connections, so you should really be able to connect to anything that you would possibly want to connect to. Plus, it's just a nice presentation, you know what I mean? Open it up. This comes with a couple of sets of pads. It came with a velour set, which while comfortable, I didn't ultimately like the sound with those as much as with the leather pads. The leather ones are the ones that I tended to use with it. But again, I appreciate that they've got this kit with it so you can kind of suit your own preferences. Okay, so as far as build goes, I honestly, I can barely see a difference. The carbon fiber is a little more prominent on the headband, but I think this headband was carbon fiber too. It just doesn't see it. You can see the carbon fiber on the bottom of it, but then you see it on the top on this one too. White stitching instead of black stitching on there. And outside of that, it looks pretty much unchanged to me. Now this is good and bad. Good in that it feels like a tank. Like these headphones feel so sturdy. They feel super well made. The downside, I think, is comfort still. They kept with their, you know, headband system here where you can kind of pull and adjust to get a good fit. Like I don't have a problem with the fit of these headphones at all. It just feels a little more cumbersome than it needs to. I think they could update that system and do a little bit better on that. Ultimately, I don't find them really uncomfortable. Like I said this about the original, they're not really uncomfortable. It just feels like you have like a contraption on your head, as opposed to just something that's simpler, you know, like the HE1000, just boom, lightweight on your head. I don't think about it. With the headphone, I kind of think about it being on my head, okay? Ultimately, I'd say it's worth it, is where we come to. So let's just dive right into sound here, because I actually do think they made some significant improvements on sound with these headphones. Now, the original headphone, again, if you go back and look at that review, or the Heddphone 2, I didn't hear the original, although I'd still be curious to hear that, but the original Heddphone 2, I thought was extremely fast, extremely detailed, very good imaging, very good depth in the sound stage. I said that it wasn't like an in-your-face headphone, but once you kind of settled into the sound, you know, you could really appreciate what it was doing there. I think what they did was they took all of those good traits and they made it so you can instantly enjoy the Heddphone 2 GT. I put this thing on and I was mainly listening to it. I listened with the Element 3, but then the real match that I had, which I just released this review, was the FiiO K17. Okay, now that is a super powerful top of the line DAC amp, and boy, with that power pushing this headphone, And that level of precision pushing this headphone, what a match made in heaven. It really just feels, when you're listening to it, it just feels like there is absolutely nothing out of place. It's not the hugest sound in the world. I thought in that regard, the HE1000, is a much larger sounding headphone. But depending on the tracks, that's not always a great thing. What the Heddphone 2 GT does extremely well is present you with an intimate, super detailed, thick, round, timbre-rich experience, where I found that especially vocal-heavy tracks just really, I could just melt right into them and lose myself listening. So I think the improvements they made really made a difference. I thought that the Heddphone 2 GT, I think it sounds overall just a much more cohesive sound. Now, I didn't think that the original Heddphone 2 didn't sound cohesive, but after listening to this and going back to the Heddphone 2, it was like night and day to me. Technically, they're on a very similar level, but I just find this one so much more just, when I'm listening to it, I don't think, I stopped thinking about equipment and things like that, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden I'm just listening to music and I'm going, I wonder what that song would sound like. I wonder what that song would sound like. Holy crap, listen to that violin. Like, that's the type of experience I was having with this paired with the K17. So I think the K17 is a super powerful amp, and I do think, originally I was listening to the Heddphone 2, I listened to it back when I did the review, Topping G5, Element 3, I still have those amps, but now I'm convinced after having the K17 on hand that this does need some power. So the K17 is 4 watts per channel. I know that they recommend that you have about a watt available to you, and I think, the more the merrier after listening to the K17 with this thing, because it really was a phenomenal presentation. It does say that this has been refined. I got their website here in front of me. Updated driver, even lower distortion. They describe it as being a richer, smoother, yet still incredibly detailed and fast sound, and engaging in luxurious listening experience. And I think all that is absolutely true. It is an extremely fast driver, extremely detailed driver, and now I feel like the presentation is a little bit warmer, which they cite as well. And I think that actually just fits this headphone perfectly, because if you're someone like me that likes to listen to like folk music, acoustic instruments, things where timbre really, really matters, and you really want that kind of like intimacy, like you're kind of sitting there with the band as they're playing and singing, this just presents that extremely, extremely well. So I absolutely love this headphone. I think it is, this headphone with the FiiO K17 is as good of a listening experience I feel like I've had with lots of the songs that I listen to with it. Now, every song, it wasn't a perfect match, right? There are some of those bigger, grander songs. Tool Schism is one that I would cite, where, just the fact that I'm busting some Tool out means that this thing's doing some special things, because that's not my normal listening, but every now and then, I'm like, hey, I wonder what some Tool would sound like on this, I like the HE1000 better with that. Like the bigger sound, just those things that are meant to be like big sounding, that headphone does better. But anything that has to do, that's like where intimacy and timbre is the focus, like kind of like an organic quality, boom, this guy nails it every single time. I think these are kind of like a perfect combination, honestly. Like you got the HE1000 if you want to listen to something kind of big, bombastic, boom, that guy. If you want something like a more intimate, very just rich experience, this guy. But this thing, but don't let any of that fool you. This thing is a technical beast, right? Very speedy, very powerful, very weighty. I just think especially the weight in the mid-range of these is just something special that obviously you can tell. I've really enjoyed my time with it. So I think they knocked it out of the park with this. I can't really see a situation where I would recommend the original Heddphone 2. I like that headphone. I still think it's a great headphone, but I just think if this is available, this is the one that I would go for. Absolutely. You know, I know $2,200 is not a cheap headphone, but I mean, I think this thing competes with anything on the market that I've heard, and I've tried headphones double the price of this, you know, and I think it hangs with anything. It's a phenomenal headphone. I think they can still do some improvements on the comfort. I think it's at a level, though, that I don't know if I'd mess with the sound, honestly. I think if I was to release a new iteration, I would, the headband is what I would rework, right? That's what I think could use a little bit of work on here. And I think even if they could give an option, if they developed, you know, a new headband that was more comfortable and maybe a little bit less finicky to adjust, you know, and then they could give people the option to buy that for like, you know, couple $100. I think that'd be a worthwhile thing for them. And then I think if they can dial the comfort in on these, they're looking at a very realistic end game top tier, you know, headphone that can compete with anything on the market, especially if you're into that intimate vocal sound. You know what I mean? So headphone, thanks for sending this out. Really enjoyed my time with it. Appreciate you giving me a chance to listen to it. Thanks to you guys for listening. Links and all that stuff drop down below if you want to check any of that stuff out. Appreciate you. Hopefully I'll catch you in the next one.